Hello, friends. My name is Dil Sindhu, and I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant based out of Ontario, Canada. Today, we will talk about a new Nova Scotia stream, really good stream. Its name is Nova Scotia Critical Construction Worker Pilot stream. So I'll share my screen and we will go over it together. So as you can see, Critical Construction Worker Pilot is a new program. So what is eligibility? So the eligibility is that you need to have a full-time permanent job offer from a Nova Scotia employer in one of these NOCs, right? So the NOCs you can see is home building and renovation managers, and then you have welders, electricians, carpenters, crane operators, and some of them are even in tier 5, which are very, very easy to get. So this is a great option for people who are in a semi-skilled or in tier 5 jobs. So for example, you have material handlers, you have construction trade helpers and laborers, and you have other trade helpers and laborers, right? What else do you need? You need a 1 year of work experience related to the job, and you could have a high school diploma or prove that you have completed a construction specific industry training program. Your age should be between 21 to 55 years of age. And your language requirements is CLB5 if it's tier 0, 1, 2, or 3 job. Or if it is tier 4 and 5, it's CLB level 4, right? In either English or French, and you need to show the financial resources to settle in Canada, right? So let me show some of the things from the application guide itself. So it's very clear to you that what are the requirements, right? So now if you see, so they have given the criteria that if this stream is right for you, right? So as it's earlier pointed out, you need a full-time permanent job offer. So full-time means that it has to be at least 30 hours per week all year around. And permanent means that it does not have an end date. So it's an indeterminate job offer, and that job offer has to be in Nova Scotia, and you intend to live in Nova Scotia. And it also talks about the employer. So employer has to be Nova Scotia employer. And if the employer is a commercial business, and it must be registered with Nova Scotia Registry of Joint Stock Companies and show that it has a permanent establishment in Nova Scotia. And if it's a non-for-profit, it can be registered under the Societies Act. And the very important thing is that the employer must have operating in Nova Scotia for the last 2 years, right? So as you can see, you do not apply if any of these statements apply to you. So some of the things which I want to highlight here is that, for example, if you have any other misrepresentation, non-compliance, or if you are self-employed or you want to plan a business or become self-employed, so then it is not for you. So how do you apply? So you apply to 2 levels of government. You have the provincial, which is Nova Scotia, and the federal. So the way it works is you first apply to Nova Scotia provincial level, and if you're nominated, they will issue a nomination certificate, right? And that nomination certificate would be valid for 6 months. And within 6 months, you have to apply to the federal under the non-express entry stream, right? So very interesting thing is that there is no application fee for applying to Nova Scotia. Of course, then there are other fees like translation costs, which I think everybody understands they have to pay their own, or when they apply for federal, then those costs will be applicable. So now let's look at what are the NOC codes which are eligible. So you have all of these 21 which are eligible. So very interesting thing in this whole exercise is that most of these occupations does not require a license or regulation, right? So for example, material handlers, you don't need roofers and shinglers, you don't need plasters, drywall, you don't need, right? So there's so many of them which you don't need, maybe except for maybe a few. For example, let's say electrician, you need to have a certificate of qualification, you must be licensed professional. Only then that experience would have been counted. Or for example, if you are, let's say, an HVAC, heating, refrigeration, and air conditioning mechanics, right? So there are a few of them which are regulated. So if you need a license, you can, before you apply, you need to have a license certificate for that specific job, right? So that is an important thing. So now let's come to another thing, which are the documents related to your job offer, right? So as from the employer perspective, you need an NSNP 200 form. So that has to be filled by the employer. So that basically talks about the job, the position, number of hours, and it also tells you that it's a permanent full-time job and other supporting documents related to that. Very interesting thing is related to the work experience, right? So any previous work experience, as you need 1 year of work experience in the last 5 years. So make sure that it is on a company letterhead. It has a signature of the price person, which would be a supervisor or a responsible person. It talks about the period you worked for the company, the title you held at that company, the amount of time you worked in that each job. Most important, main duties, right? It has to come, commensurate with the eligible knock, right? So that is important. Number of hours you worked per week in each job. Why it's important is, for example, if you worked, for example, 30 hours above, it's called a full time, right? And if it's worked less than 30 hours, from a Canadian immigration perspective, it is called part time. Yeah, you can have a cumulative experience, but at the end of the day, you need at least 1,560 hours of to be eligible for the 1 year work experience, right? So then you have documents related to education and training. You need a copy of the high school diploma or proof that you have completed a construction specific industry training. And you need copies of a license or certification required for the job you have been offered if needed. For example, if you're getting a job as an electrician and an HVAC technician, obviously you need a license or a certificate for that matter, right? Then let's come to the English requirements or language requirements, either English or in French. As I was pointing out earlier, if your job is between tier 0, 1, 2, or 3, then you need a CLB level 5. And what does CLB 5 level means, right? For example, if it's IELTS general, so that would mean uh, listening 5, reading 4, writing 5, and speaking 5. And if it's CELPIP, it's 5 in each. And similarly, you have requirements for, if you have French language proficiency, that would be TEF and TCF, right? And if it's tier 4 and 5 job, then you need CLB level 4, that commensurate to IELTS score of 4.5, 3.5 in reading, writing 4, and speaking 4, and CELPIP is 4 in all, right? Another interesting thing about the documents related to you and your family, the expiry of all the passports should be at least 2 years from the date of your application. If your passport is expiring in the next 6 months, 1 year, make sure that you get a new passport for that. Now let's look at the what kind of funds do you require. For example, so you need a bank statement for the last 3 months showing all the account balances and transaction history, or you need to have statements from your investment portfolio showing your fixed deposits and terms for withdrawing funds from before the investment matures, right? So interesting part is that you should be able to have enough money to pay for your immigration costs, your travel expenses, costs related to settling in Nova Scotia, and such as having enough money for food, rent, or clothing, right? So they've also listed, so what kind of amount do you require? For example, if I click on this specific thing, so you will have the funds you require. For example, if you are a single person, then you require $13,757. And if you are a family of 2, then accordingly you need different kind of funds. So that is the requirement. And another interesting thing is that if you already living in Nova Scotia, or you have a arranged employment, in that case, the visa officer can reduce those requirements based on case-to-case basis, right? So another important thing is that your income level should not be below the low income cutoff, right? So this means that your job offer, and let's say if they're a single person, then your job offer should be more than the LICO. And if your spouse is also accompanying, so in that case, your combined income should be more than the LICO. For example, if I click here, so that will give you information as to what is that requirement. For example, if you're getting a job offer, it's the minimum necessary income has to be 27,514 for one person. And if there are 2 people, for example, you and your wife, then it's 34,254. And if both of them are having job offers in Canada, so that can be combined as well, right? So now let's talk about how do you apply, as I was alluding to earlier. So you go to this specific website and you basically apply online. You have to answer certain questions. For example, if I click on this, it will take me to that specific website, and there you will be able to apply, right? So they're saying the average time to apply is approximately, it will take not more than 60 minutes, right? So you can go there and apply. So let me go back. And after that, what happens is, next step is, if either you're nominated or you're not. If you're nominated, you will get a nomination certificate. So the certificate expires within 6 months. That is something which you need to know. And if your work permit is expiring as well, you can also, after being nominated by province of Nova Scotia, you can request a letter of support from your office, and you can then apply and extend your work permit as well, and apply for permanent residence. So within 6 months of nomination, you need to submit a complete application to IRCC. So when you become a permanent resident, within 30 days, you contact the Nova Scotia with all this information, which is your COPR, your passport, your current address, phone number, email, and those kind of things. So now if you talk about the employer, as we were already spoken about what kind of employer you need, which is that it has to be an established concern in, which has been operating for at least 2 years. And another document which is important from your application perspective is the employer registration certificate, which an employer can obtain from Director of Labor Standards, which is basically a document which shows that they want to recruit and hire a foreign worker for employment in Nova Scotia. So here is the document checklist. So they have mentioned all the documents. So you have to fill the online application. You need NSNP 200 form, and this is if you are using the services of representative like myself. Then you need the work experience, which is letter of reference, education documents, language requirements, your immigration status, and any accompanying family members if you have. So there are those relevant documents, the birth certificate for dependent children, marriage certificate, and so on and so forth. And then you need to show settlement funds, and those are, for example, official bank statement from a financial institution for the last 3 months. So that is pretty much it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My number is 437-848-7200. My website is www.dilimmigration.com. You can always book an appointment, and we can have a thorough discussion of your profile and what are the best steps for you to get immigrated to Canada, or any other requirements you might have. So I hope you like this video. If you did, please do like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you're notified of any future videos which I created. I've done so many other videos on Nova Scotia, on Ontario, and many other immigration programs. I hope you find all of them useful. Please do leave your feedback. And if you need some, video so if you want me to create any other video, please do let me know. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day.